Why is it that in Japan, the train fares can hold steady for 40 years and be successful, while New York's subway falls apart despite constant price hikes? In December 2023, Japan's largest private rail operator, JR East, announced a 7.1% fare hike set to take effect in 2 years. Now, that might sound like bad news until you realize that this is the first increase since 1987. Yes, as shocking as that sounds, JR East has kept fares unchanged for nearly 4 decades. And they did so all while delivering one of the most efficient, reliable, and punctual train systems on Earth. Now compare that to New York City's subway. Today, it's synonymous with delays, grime, and mismanagement. But it wasn't always that way. In the early 20th century, New York's subway system was privately owned. Competing companies built and operated the lines, keeping fares low to attract riders while making profits through efficiency. For years, trains ran reliably and fares were just a nickel. Then came the government takeover in the 1940s. The city promised better service and cheaper fares, but the exact opposite happened. Bureaucracy replaced competition, costs spiraled, maintenance was neglected, and fares skyrocketed. By the 1970s, the once proud subway had become unsafe, unreliable, and was falling apart. And it hasn't really recovered. Despite constant fare hikes, the system remains riddled with delays and dysfunction. Billions in taxpayer dollars flow into it every year, yet basic improvements take decades. In contrast, Japan's privatized railroads can boast clean stations, trains that run on time, and fares that took nearly 40 years to change. I know because I've actually ridden on some of them. So what's Japan doing that New York isn't? Well, the answer is pretty simple. A private company has to keep costs down, maintain quality, and satisfy customers to survive. In the case of JR East, the company has spent nearly 40 years reinvesting in infrastructure, upgrading technology, and keeping fares as low as possible. The New York subway system, on the other hand, faces none of the same pressures. They're funded by taxpayers, whether they deliver value or not. And as a result, inefficiency, overspending, and crumbling service becomes the norm because there's no real incentive to improve and you don't got another option. The lesson here is simple. If you want clean, reliable, affordable infrastructure, privatization actually works when it's run the way it's supposed to. Japan's railways prove it. New York subways proves what happens when you ignore these factors and let politicians run something that they're neither equipped nor properly incentivized to do.